Good morning, YouTube. This is Johnny. It is a Wednesday morning here in West Michigan. It is 10:13 in the morning. It is June the 14th, 2023. And I am drinking coffee, writing in my diary. I'm on page 499. I'll hit page 500 for the year 2023. Probably today, as is my habit, I am writing in my diary. And I am reading for devotions. Let me get my bookmarker here. I have to get some index cards. This is my I use the index cards for bookmarkers, and I don't have any. When a couple years ago, when I dehauled lots of books out of my library, I went through all my books and took out all the bookmarkers, all the index cards, and I threw some away, and then I realized, well, I can still use them for bookmarkers, and so I put them in my desk drawer, a big huge amount of those index cards, and now they're all in different books. As you know, I tend to read books, and then when I get a new book, I always put an index card in it, no matter what. If I get a book from the Book Nook, or a used book sale, or a used bookstore, or I get it from Amazon in the mail, I immediately put an index card in it. And if I read it, I put where I stopped reading it, and I can go back, a week later, or a month later, or a year later, and pick up where I have read. So now I have, throughout my library, index cards in all these books, and so I'm out of index cards. So I keep meaning, at the Book Nook they sell index cards, and so today when I go down there at around 11 o'clock, I'm going to go down to the Friends of the Library used book sale, which is, yesterday was just the members, Friends of the Library members get in. And then today, from Wednesday until Saturday, is open up into the public. So anybody can come, and it's from 11, and today it's from 11, I think, until 7. And then Saturday is a $5 bag sale. And then the volunteers, we box up the books that did not sell. And we can take anything that we want that did not sell. So I tend to, but I get a lot of books sometimes. But to be honest, I look through the books. Carol and I helped set up for the library used book sale. And I really didn't see that much, especially in fiction, paperbacks. I did buy a lot of books. I mean, as you can read on my online diary, Crooked Fingers, what I bought, or you can just wait until the video. The reason why I have not shown the books that I have bought at the Friends of the Library used book sale, because I'll probably get some books today, maybe Thursday. Friday is my shift at the Book Nook, and Saturday I box up, and so I might come across some more books, and so I'm kind of reluctant to make a video of showing the books until I have everything that I have bought from the Friends of the Library used book sale. I don't want to make a bunch of videos just showing you the books. I want to show you all of them. But I bought at least, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I bought 16 books yesterday from the library used book sale. And then on Monday I bought 1, 2, 3, 4 books. So I bought around 20 books, and I bought some when I was setting up. So I bought around maybe 25 books, maybe 30, which is really not many. I usually buy around 60 at these Friends of the Library used book sale, but maybe I'm kind of more, what I'm looking for has been narrowed down. and I bought a lot of books. We just went a couple of weeks ago, we went to that Freeport library used book sale. We went to Cheap Stacks. I've gone to Goodwill. So I haven't gone to Salvation Army in a while. So I bought a lot of books, and I got books from the mail, Reformation Heritage Books, Amazon, and so maybe I'm getting kind of booked out. I don't know, but that's why I've not made any videos showing the Friends of the Library used books sale, because I haven't gotten all the books that. Now I don't know if I'll find any more books today or Thursday or Friday or Saturday, because like I said, I went through all the different tables. I may need to look for biographies. I look for history and nonfiction, and then I go to poetry and literary fiction. Then I'll go to the paperbacks, and then I'll go to like nature or travel or science. When it comes to science, I like the history of science, things like that. But I mainly focus on biography, on history and nonfiction, and art. I did find one art book yesterday. What it was, the book I found in art section was William Blake at the Huntington. And what it was is that Huntington, William Blake, the engraver, and who, you all know William Blake. It was photos of his illustrations, were his carvings, were his prints. It was called William Blake at the Huntington, Introduction to William Blake Collection in the Henry E. Huntington Library and Art Gallery. That's the only art book I found. Now, I've shown you art books from the Book Nook over the last, I don't know how many years in these videos. But I haven't looked, when it comes to religion used books, I don't really find in religion, it's all, to me, it's a lot of it's just a bunch of crap. And I haven't seen any sets of works at the library, Friends Library used book sale. I haven't seen any sets of books, like, like I showed you in the past, Mark Twain's works I bought from the Book Nook, and Balzac's works I bought from the Book Nook in the past. But sometimes you miss something. Like when I go to a thrift store, I'll spend a half hour or at maybe 25 minutes looking at the books, and I go 3 or 4 times, because you always miss something the first time, even the second time, and even the third time you might miss something. So when you go looking at books, used books, it's good to look at every single book, take it out. Sometimes books are kind of squeezed together they have a big book and on two sides and a little book in the middle, and you might find a gem. You never know. So I don't know. Sometimes I miss things. Sometimes they're always putting books out because there's books in boxes underneath the tables, and then when there's room on the tables, they take the books out of the box, and which are open to the public. They're open. You can see them on the floor in the box with the cover. You can see it, but then they put them on the table for people to buy. So yeah, I'll probably leave here around 11. It's 10:23. Today I feel kind of anxious. I don't really know why. It's kind of like some days I just don't want to leave the house, and I get kind of anxious, but then my general rule is I don't leave the house after 12 o'clock. I usually like to go someplace in the mornings, and in the afternoons I just want to be home. So if I go to like a thrift store, I'll go when it opens up at 10 o'clock in the morning. I won't go there at 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock. I generally don't like being out in the afternoon hours, or I don't like being out even at nighttime when it's dark. I don't like being in the car driving anywhere at night, especially now that I'm getting older. So, but I do, since it's going to be the busiest day today at the Friends of the Library Used Book Sale, I'll probably go down there. One thing I don't do, I never sign up to be a volunteer at these book sales, but the lady who runs the Book Nook and runs the book sales, she knows that. I don't like appointments. I don't like having to be anywhere. So I don't sign up to be a volunteer. I just show up when I show up, and I leave when I want to leave. And I'll stay 2 or 3 hours. I'll probably go down there around 11 and leave around 1 o'clock, and then I'll come home. Because what I'll do when I go to the Friends of the Library Used Book Sale this morning, I'll help people with their purchases. Sometimes you have older people who can't carry. And like yesterday, I helped a woman carry books out to her car, an elderly woman. Well, she was the same age as I was, but she had 3 big, heavy bags of books, and so I helped her. Very nice lady. But she said, one thing we were talking, she said, it's kind of strange being in our 70s. And I said, yeah. And, but I don't know. So one book I didn't show I got in the mail last week was this book, The Love of Christ, Expository Sermons on Verses from the Song of Solomon, chapters 4 through 6 by Richard Sibbes. Richard Sibbes was an English Puritan. He lived from 1577 and he died in 1635. I have the works of Richard Sibbes down in my library downstairs. I have like a 6, maybe 7 volume works of Richard Sibbes. But the reason why I got this, it was out of print, but the Banner Truth, who publishes Puritan works, had a sale on this, and I didn't know it was still available. I looked for it several months ago, this paperback of his sermons on the Song of Solomon. I have it in his complete works, a hardback of his sermons on the Song of Solomon, but I wanted this paperback so I can carry it around and read it it's easier to when you're standing in line or you're sitting. I'm sitting in my reading chair in the living room, that I can read this in my hand, and I can read it, close it, and meditate and pray and reflect on what I'm reading. Whereas if you have a big hardback it's kind of more cumbersome and more difficult, but I can carry this around. So I wanted this. And Reformation Heritage was selling this for $9. I looked for it a couple of months ago and it was unavailable. You couldn't get it. It was just out of print. And so I was really pleased when I found out from Reformation Heritage Books that they had this in a paperback and it was now available. Now these sermons, when I was in seminary in Jackson, Mississippi back in the 80s, I went through a very hard time. When I was in seminary, I had it was very difficult because I always felt out of place. I never really felt comfortable. Back in those days, our kids were little. They were still in preschool, and Bethany was born the last year we were in seminary. Caleb and Josiah were little boys, and when I was in seminary, I worked for the seminary. I was groundskeeper. I was on the crew at seminary I had mowed the lawns and I had to trim bushes. And the seminary I went to in Jackson, Mississippi, they owned about 20 houses around the seminary that people lived in, students and who had families. And we had to take care of those houses. I mean, we had to mow the lawns, we had to paint, clean when the people left, when they finished school and the houses were vacant. We had to go in and clean them and mow the lawns and trim the bushes and all kinds of things. So I did that when I was in seminary, besides going to classes and raising a family and preaching on Sundays at different churches throughout Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi. So I was pretty busy, but it was always very difficult. I never really felt comfortable. I always felt, but I did it. But what the point is that when I was going through one time I went through a really hard spell, and I read Richard Sibbes' sermons on the Song of Solomon. These sermons from chapters 4 through 6 on the Song of Solomon, and the Lord really blessed it, and really helped me get through that dark and hard period in my life. And so I've always treasured these sermons. And also Richard Sibbes is one of my favorite Puritans. He's not at the top list, but he's one of my favorites. And so I was really pleased to have a paperback edition of his sermons on the Song of Solomon, chapters 4 through 6, just to carry around. And because I'm still not free from anxiety and insecurities and depression and just living in this world that I feel uncomfortable in. I don't feel comfortable in this world. That's why I tell people, the Book Nook is going to close on the 24th of June and won't open up until next April 2024. And I tell people, the only place I really go to is the Book Nook. Now I go to thrift stores and sometimes I go grocery shopping with Carol, but I don't visit people. I don't have, I don't go downtown, some bar. I don't do anything. Yesterday I had a session with my psychologist, my therapist, and counselor or therapist, whatever you want to call him, and I told him, it's like the only thing I really wanted to be in life. I became a Christian in 1970 after I graduated from high school. And when I graduated from high school, because I became a Christian right after I graduated from high school, when I finished high school, I didn't have, life was totally meaningless. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do. I went to junior college after high school, and I thought I might go and be a social worker or get involved in some kind of art. But I had no idea. I was just kind of aimless, and life seemed to be meaningless, and I just was kind of at a loss. I didn't have any family. I didn't have anybody to counsel me or model or direct me. When I was in high school, nobody cared if I flunked or succeeded. I didn't have, I didn't have anybody. So, but that summer after high school, I became a Christian, and then I had a meaning for life. I could tell people about Jesus. I could be an evangelist. I could be a witness for Jesus, and that's what I still look at myself as being. But I don't find this world a comfortable place. This is going on 20 minutes. I try not to go over 20 minutes. But I'm reading Theoretical Practical Theology, Redemption in Christ, Volume 4, for devotions. Reading Love of Christ by Richard Sibbes. Still reading The Yellow Lighted Bookshop, a memoir and a history by Louis Busby. And I'm still reading The Reformation as Renewal by Matthew Barrett. So I'm going to get ready to go down to the Friends of the Library Used Book Sale. I thank you for your comments. And I'll show those books from the Friends of the Library Used Book Sale probably maybe next Sunday. I'm not sure. But I hope you're all doing well, having a good reading week. Do pray that you are all well. And like I always say, come Lord Jesus. So until next time, bye.